Everybody, so in this video I'm going to do something more simple. I've got my two boys here and a family to feed, and so you get busy with doing lunches and stuff, so I'm going to do something with stuff that's around the house. So in wintertime, fall time, canned tomatoes are great. This is just going to be a creamy tomato sauce. It's kind of be a base for, we're going to show you doing a vodka one too. But the good thing about it is once you make it, you can store it too. I label it, make sure, cool it down properly. Which is getting it down to a temperature quickly. So you want to do that, and you can put it in the freezer if you want to, because it's just basically tomatoes. So it's stuff you have around the house, and like canned tomatoes are a great option. I want people to know that. You can use it for shakshuka as well, other tomato sauces, other braises with like chicken or meats. So it's a really handy thing to have these peeled whole tomatoes, because then you're going to crush them up, and it has a lot of flavor and a lot of integrity. So we'll get started with the sauce. Simple ingredients. Okay, I got my pot. Get a larger size one. It's gonna, I always talk about using the right tool, right job, because the smaller you get, the harder it's gonna be. But if use what you have. So I'm gonna use butter. That's 2 tablespoons there, maybe a little bit more. And you can use olive oil if you have it. So I'm not gonna be a stickler on all this thing, because this is just a very basic pasta sauce. It's just gonna be fun and to have for the kids. And like I said, you want to be feeding the family, and if you have olive oil, even regular oil, it's good. I'm using butter right now because we are gonna add cream to it. So. Heat control, important too. I talk about it too in some of my blogs, so if you haven't checked it out, please check out chefseis.com. So what you want to do is you always start out high, and then you can lower the heat. But heat control is really important because I think people just leave it on, same with the oven, and it goes on one temperature. But manipulate it as you need it. So as you add more things in, things that are cooler, you're gonna need to heat it up more. So melt that butter down. Hot pan first always before you add the fat. That is a very pro tip. I already touched my onion, 1 medium. And we're gonna put that in so you can hear that sizzle. Okay, I've got some garlic, I've got some really big cloves. So I'm gonna slice these up today. But just like, so this is a large clove, so that's about 2 in 1, maybe almost 3 in 1. So maybe we'll go like that and just slice it up nicely. And more garlic, the better for me, depending on what I'm making, because you don't want it to overpower, but this one is fine because we're gonna make some sauce here. So, I'm gonna stir this around. Butter's going a little bit to turn this down. Like I said, heat control. We want to get the onions going first. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to that. Not a whole lot. We're gonna adjust toward the end, but we want to season as we go, layer by layer, step by step. Sweat those down. So sweating basically means soft cooking of the onions, no browning. If they do get brown for something like this, it's okay. Sometimes when it gets brown and the outside, it gets dried bits, so we don't want that. Or let that go for a few minutes, probably at least 6 minutes or so on a low heat. So just let that go, stir occasionally, and then we're gonna add the garlic next. Okay, some of the things I'm doing, I'm stirring the onion, so I don't know, as chefs, we always kind of move the whole thing, get it around, get over the edges and things like that. Okay, so one thing I was telling you about the onions getting dark or something, so what you can do too, I have some pasta water here. It's not seasoned right now. Or just take tap water, but you can also just arrest it a little bit. You need some moisture, just like that. And just having that, cool off, so to speak. So I'm gonna add the garlic in there too. And we're doing the same thing, sweat, no color, get that nice and aromatic. You can use chopped garlic or minced garlic as well. I just did the slices and cook that a little bit. And add the garlic, so if you want to sweat that out as well, stir that around, let that go a little bit, turn the heat down, and keep your eye on it. The garlic softened up, nicely sweated out. I love these little rubber spatulas. And then we're gonna add a canned tomato paste. So tomato paste is gonna add some body, and it's got some sweetness to it too. So we're gonna make this easy in terms of just 1 can in there. And you wanna cook that out a little bit. So we're gonna sweat that out in there as well. And cook that out just like this, get as much as possible. And then just swirl that around. So this is pretty thick, so you want low heat as well, low to medium, because it will burn, because it's got some sweetness to it or sugars to it. And let that cook out just for like a minute or so, and then I'll show you the next step. So the tomato paste is cooked out on low heat. And I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit to high, because now we're gonna, like I said, heat control. I'm gonna introduce something that's cold. So I'm gonna add the whole can in there. You can see that's gonna sizzle up. So you wanna bring that to a boil. I'm gonna crush it up a little bit with my spoon, wooden spoon, and do that. I'm also gonna add a little bit of water to the can. Let's see. I'm just gonna do just a few drops here, just so we can get everything cooked down and broken down, and so it won't have a chance of really burning up. So we're gonna do a little bit of water, just that, swirl that around, add that to it. Maybe a little pinch of salt, little bit by little bit, layer by layer. And then once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna turn it down to a simmer, and then just kind of break this up, because as it starts to cook, it will start to break down even more. Okay, so we're gonna use this twice. So right now I'm just going to blend some of these tomatoes. just like that. Be careful because it's hot, so you don't want to splash all over the place. So you got to be really careful. I've gotten myself a few times. So we're just going to go on a low setting. All these are a little bit different. And so we're going to just crush that up. Just give it a little motion here. I might add a little bit more water to that. And then we're going to let that go a little bit longer. And then once we have the cream, I'm going to puree it again. The way to do this is, obviously it's hot, so use a nap like a towel, but just tilt it over a little bit, just so you can get all into one area so it submerges. If not, you get that splatter. And then also too, what I do to clean this up is to use a rubber spatula and just go over the sides, just so it doesn't go all over the place and burn on the sides. Okay, so it splatters a bunch, so I leave it covered, and just make sure you stir it once in a while because you want the bottom to burn. So it's been cooking for a few minutes. I'm going to shut it down, and then we're going to add our cream. So we're just going to add it toward the end, just like this. It's about a cup of cream right there, and then we're going to stir that around. But you see, it's going to make it nice and light, nice and creamy too. And then I'm going to cook that a little while longer with the lid, not that much longer, like 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to reblend it once it's shut off so it doesn't get all hot lava everywhere. Cook for a little bit, stir it around. I tasted it too. Always get a nice big spoon. I know it's hot, so please be careful. Needs a little more salt. I'm going to season that now for the finishing touch of seasoning, and then I'm going to blend it again. So as I said, heat off, tilt, and then we're going to blend that up. Make sure it's nice and smooth, nice and smooth, and that'll be a really nice sauce. So we're going to do that for a little while longer, and then we're going to do pasta. Okay, so pasta cooking is fairly simple, but there's some few finer points to it. One is boiling water, season it with salt. I like to season it well so you taste the salt in it, and then we are going to drop the pasta while it's hot. So stir that around, make sure it's even. I use enough water just to make sure to cook the pasta, but we're going to use some of that pasta water in the sauce to help kind of loosen it up because the starches will help thicken it up as well. And you want to cook the pasta in the sauce, which I will show you as well. So, pound of pasta, big enough pot. You want a big enough pot. Sometimes people have a little bit too much water. I don't think you need all that much water. 2 reasons: it takes too long to cook, and then you're not going to use it all. This is just spaghetti. You can use your, the one that you like the most. Angel hair takes no time at all to cook. So if you're pressed for time, I sometimes like that, just from a father's perspective or from a parent's perspective. So we're going to add that in, and make sure the water is boiling. Salted water, make sure you place it in, and make sure, it depends on the type of pasta. So another thing is, like, if you're using a heavier pasta like a ziti or something like that, or penne, it will sink to the bottom. So you got to make sure to stir that so it doesn't stick to the bottom. Same with here. If you use a certain type of pasta, you don't move it around, it will stick together. Okay, so my pasta is almost ready to go. See how much water there is? There's some, but not a whole lot. So I'm going to use some of it in this pasta sauce. This is on a low setting. I'm going to put it back on. And then for the adults in us, we're going to do a vodka sauce. I remember when I was a young cook at Terrytown Hilton, there's a recipe for a vodka sauce. I didn't know, I had this tall pot. Poured the vodka, I said to flame it off. It like exploded. I singed my eyebrows and stuff. It was like a cannon because it actually had a lot of vodka in it. It was back in the day, so I guess more alcohol. Anyway, we're going to put, it's about a quart of sauce. I took some out actually. So when I made it, I took about 2 cups out. So this deli container is 2 cups. Use a lot to measure, just kind of roughly speaking, just in case everybody knows, and the quart is the taller one. So I'm going to put like a little bit less than a quarter of a cup, just like that. So too much is going to take away the flavor of the sauce, but just enough, it'll be perfect. So then we're going to mix that around and then let that cook out a little bit. Not a lot, just a few minutes, just like 5 minutes or so, just to get some of the roughness out, but it's going to help that for the sauce. So this base, you can add this and make an old school vodka sauce. And then right when it's ready, I'll just show you to cook the pasta in there a little bit. Actually, vodka sauce, it is safe to serve to the kids because you're going to burn some of it off. But even if you burn it off, it's going to be a little bit. So just a disclaimer. So the sauce is hot, so we're going to cook the pasta directly in the pasta sauce as you always should. So that's why I save this water and go directly into this. You can use a skimmer as well. That'll make it a lot easier, which I will grab right now. So I'm going to use the skimmer with this and go right into the sauce. Like that. And by all means, save the pasta water. People drain it out. We need to use it. Mix it in there. It's going to cook the pasta in there. It's going to absorb all those fabulous flavors. And then make your sauce a little nice and creamy. Okay, so I've got the pasta al dente, so a little firm to the tooth is what it means. And then, so I'm mixing it in the sauce. Have the heat on. And it's going to keep cooking for a little while longer. And so you want a nice sauce ratio. The water's got some nice starch there. So even if you let it sit, like let's say you cook it ahead of time for the family and just let it go, let's say for a second, You want some of this water to add back into it to reconstitute it. Obviously, if you're going right to it, it's going to be nice and hot and creamy, but we're also going to cook the pasta a little bit longer in there. It just got in there, so you kind of see it's a little bit of separation between pasta and sauce. You want the integration between pasta and sauce. So then we're almost ready here. I'm going to plate that up, a little sprinkle of cheese, and then we'll be right there. Voila, here we go. So let it sit for a second just to absorb some of the nice flavor. We got nice pasta creaminess, just like that. I'm going to serve this up. Like so, a nice portion. This is enough for a family. This is a pound of pasta, so 1 box. And then we have that. And you can also spoon some sauce in there if you'd like. Get a little bit more. I'm sure someone would want a nice, large heaping. But there you go. Simple pasta, but those little techniques will make it that much better. Salted water, your pasta in the sauce. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna enjoy this pasta, but before that, if you like it, like the video, please like it. If you want some more content, subscribe, and please comment. So, appreciate it. Thanks for joining me. Cheers. Delicious.